We have the pleasure of receiving here today Daianu, who is a member of the board of the National Bank of Romania, and was previously, among also other things, the finance minister of his own country. Well, thank you for being here, Daniel. I would like to ask you a couple of questions concerning the future of the European Union. The first one would be about the challenges it's currently facing and how to respond to them. What would you say are the most important things for the European Union in this very moment?
Let me first say hello and how much I appreciate the possibility of having this dialogue. Now, you have raised, or you have asked me what I think about the main challenges, and we are not far away time-wise from the Brexit Referendum on whether the UK should stay or not. And my wish is that the UK should stay. I think that the Brexit, a divorce between the UK and the EU would be very bad for both. It would create a very bad precedent. Other countries may entertain a similar endeavor, and that would be inimical to the EU as a whole. I believe that we are going through the most difficult period in the history of the EU if we put aside the ideological and confrontation of the Cold War years. The Union is fraught with a cluster of crises: the financial and economic crisis, the euro area crisis, the migrants crisis, the refugee crisis. There is a geopolitical strain with Crimea's annexation, and European security arrangements, which have been questioned implicitly and explicitly. Then there is chaos in the vicinity of the Union. In Arab countries, we have wars in Syria. We have a very bad state of affairs in Libya. The Union has to pull itself together in terms of the way politicians present the European project, in terms of the decision-making process, in terms of solidarity both at the national and the supranational level, in terms of making the euro area function better, and not least hoping, because this is what we can hope now, to have the UK stay. Having the UK stay in the Union is good for the economy as a whole of the Union. I believe it's good for the UK economy. It's good for the security and foreign policy of the Union. The UK plays a major, and in my view, a key role in formulating, however precarious sometimes it is, but in formulating a joint security and foreign policy. The UK has its technological capabilities, which are of the highest level, and the UK plays a major role in what I would call the balance of power in the Union, which does matter. So for all these reasons and other reasons, I think the UK would be good for everybody to stay in the Union. I don't want the UK to be out of the Union. I don't want to see other EU member states following to the steps of a departure of the UK. The Union needs to manage its crisis in its present configuration. It has to pull, as I said, it has to pull itself together. It's good that we have a deal with Turkey, how much it is criticized, whether in the European Parliament and some EU member states. But at the end of the day, we need to do something. And the deal with Turkey, as you can see, it's been able to slow down or to reduce more than significantly the flow of refugees. It doesn't mean that we are reneging on our cherished values, on our humanitarian concerns, but we have to be realistic and understand that sometimes European citizens seem to be overwhelmed by what's happening in terms of the economic crisis, but also the flow of migrants. Brexit and managing the refugee crisis are key issues, policy issues. This year, then we have to continue to deal with the euro area crisis, and I believe that the Five Presidents report has entailed fundamental conceptual breakthroughs. Because in that report, there is talk about ultimately deepening the political integration, creating a fiscal capacity, making the banking union completing the banking union by introducing a collective insurance scheme.
Well, you've raised some of the big challenges the European Union is facing, and you said that...
No, there are other issues as well.
Yeah.
It's, for example, when Etienne Daianu says that we lost the citizens.
Mm-hmm. That was the thing that I was also going to ask you about, because you said that the solution of mainly of all the problems the European Union is facing is to stick together and respond to the challenges together. But how do we fight against the distrust, first among the member states that has been increased in the last few years, and also how do we respond to the criticism by some part of the public opinion, European public opinion in some member states, and to the project itself, to the European integration process?
It's I wouldn't say that we crossed the Rubicon in terms of the inability of governments to redeem themselves, because if we believe that that's the case, and if it has already happened, then it's like we are doomed. There is nothing we can do, and we'll have to accept and condone. We'll have to condone continuous fragmentation of the Union. And even if there is fragmentation, I don't take for granted that we are doomed. I believe that a more candid political discourse, more astute presentation, clever presentation, and balanced presentation of the European project, of the Union, would make citizens trust again the European project. This is a key issue nowadays. The pluses are frequently underestimated or hidden, the benefits of the Union, whereas what people perceive as costs are quite not looming, but are very present in their lives. And I believe also the governments have done a very bad job at maintaining the loyalty of not a few citizens toward the European projects by projecting the people in Brussels, European institutions, and the villains. I mean, it's institutions which only are the providers of pieces of bad news, whereas national governments are fighting for the interests of citizens. And I believe that that's wrong. There should be always a balanced way of presenting the balance sheet of the Union, whether in national terms and EU terms. People in Brussels, people in the Commission are not infallible. We can all make mistakes. National governments do make mistakes. But overall, the Union has helped economic reconstruction after the Second World War and has helped preserve peace. And you in Spain, you know how much the Union has meant for your country joining again, I mean, the League of Democratic Countries and of advanced economies in spite of the years of economic pain after the eruption of the crisis. It's not easy, but to regain what Etienne Davignon has said, to regain the citizens. It's not easy at all. And I agree with you, and there is much artistry in an effective political discourse. But I'm not referring to populism, nationalism, or trying to capture the emotions of the people and via what seems to be easy solutions. I don't believe that there are quick fixes to our problems. For a big chunk of the plight in the Union is related to an economic and financial crisis which has engulfed the industrialized world. The United States has also gone through hard times. And the whole discussion has to hook up with increasing income inequality, with social strain, with the lack of transparency, all this ongoing debate about tax evasion, tax avoidance. We have to talk about business responsibility, what companies do. It's very hard to ask people. The euro area, as the report says, the 5 presidents, but there's also a personal view, has a poor design, and it has to change. It's rules of the game. It's policy arrangements, and so that it should become a genuine monetary union. It's not a genuine monetary union. It's much more like a single currency area. So it has to change. And I also believe that when it comes to the governance of the union as a whole, people should pay more attention to the Monti report of 2010. Even the functioning of the single market has to be overhauled.
Mm-hmm.
So we need more stronger joint institutions, and we need a strong security and foreign policy. We need to think very seriously about funding European public goods. I know that it sounds like a blasphemy nowadays to talk about a strong EU budget, but the EU budget has to fund basic European public goods in order to protect frontiers, to make people safe in Europe. We have to fight terrorism.
Thank you very much for coming, Daniel. Thank you very much for this excellent debate we had just before, and also for sharing your views in this video that we're going to upload to our YouTube channel.
Thank you.